The small-town diner was quiet that evening, the kind of quiet that felt heavy with routine. The neon sign buzzed faintly outside, flickering against the rain-slicked pavement. Inside, a few patrons lingered, sipping coffee, sharing hushed conversations, unaware of the storm about to unfold. She moved behind the counter, a young waitress in a uniform faded from years of hard work. Her hands were steady, her voice polite, but her eyes carried a subtle exhaustion, the kind that comes from too many shifts dealing with arrogance and entitlement. She had learned to smile through it all, to survive the small cruelties that came with her job. Then he walked in, the sheriff. Broad-shouldered, boots heavy on the tiles, belt loaded, badge glinting in the dim light. He scanned the diner like he owned every corner of it. He didn't ask for a menu, he didn't sit quietly, he demanded attention, and he got it the moment he stepped in. "Finally," he barked, loud enough to make heads turn. "About time someone waited on me properly." She moved quickly, pouring coffee into his cup with the precision that years of practice had given her. She kept her gaze low, offering only a polite nod. It wasn't enough. He leaned across the counter, invading her space, a smirk playing across his face. "You call this service? This uniform? This face? You're a joke." Laughter followed, some from the sheriff, some awkwardly from a patron, but not enough to ease the tension. She felt her heart pound, her trans tremble slightly. She had faced arrogance before, but there was something in his presence that carried entitlement like a weapon. Then came the slap, a sharp, deliberate sound that echoed across the room. Her head jerked slightly, hair falling into her eyes. The sheriff leaned back, satisfied, smug. The silence that followed was heavy. No one spoke, no one moved. The air itself seemed to hold its breath. The diner didn't return to its normal rhythm immediately. Chairs remained slightly crooked, coffee cups untouched for moments longer than usual, as if the air itself was still holding its breath. Patrons whispered cautiously, glancing at the counter, at the floor, at each other, all processing what had just unfolded. The sheriff sat cuffed in the corner, his uniform crisp but meaningless, arrogance replaced with shame he could feel in his bones. He replayed every detail, the measured steps, the calm stance, the effortless control. 1 second he had believed himself untouchable, the next completely exposed. His pride, built over years of assuming authority, had been stripped away by someone who didn't need to raise their voice or resort to threats. The waitress stood behind the counter, hands lightly pressed to the wood, finally breathing more freely. Patrons offered soft words of encouragement, small gestures, but she barely noticed them. Her attention was fixed on the fact that she had been protected, that respect had been restored quietly but undeniably. She felt strength returning to her spine, dignity returning to her eyes. A small folded note appeared on the counter where she had worked. Neat handwriting, no signature, just a simple message. "You did nothing wrong. Stand tall. Respect isn't demanded, it's earned." She read it twice, then tucked it into her pocket, a small smile breaking through the exhaustion. The sheriff would not return. Not to the diner, not to challenge her, not to attempt to reclaim his imaginary power. His badge, once a symbol of intimidation, now rested locked away at the station, stripped of all meaning. The seal had left a mark not with violence, but with authority, precision, and calm discipline that spoke louder than any threats. In the following days, the story spread quietly across town, not the details, not the slap, not the movements, but the lesson. Anyone with eyes could see it. True authority isn't claimed by force or arrogance. It is measured, deliberate, earned, and quietly executed. The waitress returned to work, same uniform, same shoes, but a new posture. She moved with confidence, greeted customers with her head held high, and no longer flinched at the sound of approaching footsteps. Something inside her had shifted. Courage didn't always roar. It sometimes arrived silently, leaving lasting impact. Far from the small town, the Navy SEAL continued forward, unnoticed, unannounced, leaving behind nothing but a reminder that power and courage are not in the badge or the uniform. They are in the action, the restraint, and the readiness to intervene when needed most. The diner resumed its quiet hum, yet everyone present knew the night had changed everything. The sheriff had been humbled, the waitress had been restored, and the small town had witnessed a lesson that would linger far longer than the neon lights outside, far longer than the stormy rain. True power doesn't demand, it acts, it protects, it commands respect through presence and discipline, silently, yet undeniably. And in the memory of every patron, every whisper, every nervous glance that night, the story endured. A tale of courage, restraint, and justice, written in action rather than words, told in silence rather than noise, remembered long after the diner lights went out.